So right now we just wanted to introduce each of our panelists. So if the panelists could come up to the front, and our interpreter as well, please. Thank you. So firstly, I'll introduce our moderator. We have a really great professor from our own Simmons School of Library and Information Science. This is our another panelist, Óscar.
Hi. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi, we're just introducing each of the panelists. So we'll get started with Janet Ceja is our moderator. So Janet Ceja teaches and researches in the area of archival studies. Before joining the faculty at Simmons, she taught at the University of Arizona's School of Information. She received her BA in Film Studies from the University of California in Santa Barbara, and her MA in Film and Media Preservation from the University of Rochester. She's also a graduate of the L. Jeffrey Selznick School of Film Preservation at the George Eastman House in Rochester, New York. She completed her PhD in Library and Information Science at the University of Pittsburgh, where she was a member of the American Library Association's first cohort of Spectrum Doctoral Fellows. Before entering the doctoral program, she worked as a moving image archivist in Los Angeles, California, where she's from originally. And some of her recent projects include Latinx literacy in libraries and archives, immigrant rights and records literacy, historias, testimonios sobre el desplazamiento de la comunidad de East Boston, or testimonies about the displacement of the East Boston community, and archivos rascuache, or recuerdos de antes y ahora, or rascuache archives, memories from then and now. So this is Janet Ceja. Thank you so much. So if you want to go ahead and introduce our panelists.
Please have a seat. Welcome. Thank you everyone for being here tonight. We are waiting on one panelist, as was, I believe, mentioned earlier. It's very exciting to be here, and I was talking to the filmmakers, and it looks like we're getting an early screening of the film. So you're all very lucky. We're all very lucky to have access to this film today. After the film, we will be having a great, I hope, discussion about immigration or migration, global migration, and migration within this country as well. We have two activists here, local activists, who will be providing context for us as well. So very excited about that. I am going to do a quick introduction right now, and hopefully Gata makes it in the end. If not, I will introduce her. So we're going to start with Óscar. Óscar Rubén Cornejo Cásares, and he's on conference call with us from Chicago. He's one of the protagonists in the film and is a member of the Dartmouth College class of 2017. He's currently a sociology PhD student at Northwestern, focusing his studies on the intersections of undocumented migration, race, and social movements. Sawyer Broadley is a freelance and full-time video professional for the past 10 years. He lives with his wife and their cat in Canaan. Okay, all right. Grew up in Canaan, everyone. All right. He received a BA in English and Film Studies at Dartmouth in 2008, and he really enjoys working with educators, scientists, businesses to tell stories that have great impact. Jill Baron is a librarian for Romance languages and Latin American, Latinx, and Caribbean Studies at Dartmouth College. She received her master's in LIS from Rutgers, an MFA in creative writing from the New School, and she currently lives in Vermont with her family. This is her first feature-length documentary film. Irma Lemuz Amaya is a Honduran, mother of 3 children, a defender of human rights, including environmental and territorial rights, and is a feminist. She's accompanied ancestral land recuperation movements of indigenous nations, such as the PEC and Garifunas Orfane of Honduras. She's also been in the fight for protection of rivers and life against mining companies in Honduras. Catalina Santiago is an organizer with Movimiento Cosecha, and Cata hails from Oaxaca, Mexico. She's a leader from Homestead, Florida, organizer who has organized various rallies, marches, and actions around the country in the path towards dignity, respect, and permanent protection. So thank you, everyone, for being with us tonight. We really look forward to having a discussion with you. I had you come up here just so that everyone can see you. But thank you all again for being here, and let's get started with the film. All right, well, another round of applause for the film Change the Subject. Thank you. All right, and I just want to point out that our panelist, Catalina, is here. So thank you. And we do have our virtual participant here, and we're able to. This is Óscar. All right.
Hi.
So we do have about, let's say 40 minutes for discussion. I will be asking everyone a question, and I will then open it up for discussion to make sure that the audience is also a part of the process. All right, but before we do get started with our discussion, we want to take a moment to highlight the work that our local activists are doing here in Boston and nationwide. So I'm going to ask Catalina if you could start us off by sharing a little bit of your work with Cosecha, strategies, and just the efforts that you're working on right now.
Spanish, which is basically honoring the most vulnerable workers in this country, which are undocumented farm workers, and also to honor the history and the context of this empire of enslavement of Black people. So as we know, they worked the cotton, and that definitely gave a push to just the country's economy. And our goal is to win permanent protection, dignity, and respect for all immigrants. And what I really appreciated of the film is Óscar just touching a bit on this dreamer narrative. So it basically states that permanent protection or protection from deportation is for a selected few, as myself, or someone who goes to college and not a parent. So our parents have been thrown under the bus, and that's what Movimiento Cosecha is about. And our strategy is basically around building a movement, a popular movement. We don't have an executive director. We have decentralized circles, and currently we have a driver's license campaign here in the state of Massachusetts, in New Jersey, in Indiana, in Michigan, and then in Georgia, where, as we know, their legislature's messier and it's a bit more complex, where their goal is for the immigrant community to not be criminalized for not having a driver's license, which they don't have access to. And at the local level, we're actually camping out, starting today at the State House, which is why I came in a bit late, because it's been 15 years of false promises. So we had a quinceañera, a culturally relevant event, which is a Sweet 15, and we had a cutout of Charlie Baker. We had some cake that we took to DeLeo's office, which is the Speaker of the House, and House of Representatives. And it's basically the community saying we want to drive without fear. And yeah, you can check us out on Facebook, Movimiento Cosecha. And we ultimately have the goal of a 4-phase strategy. The first, building support, building teams, campaigns. Second, political intervention, showcasing that the answers don't lie in the hands of politicians, because we know that we've been lied to. And also we know that we need to hit this country where it hurts it most, its pockets. So our third phase is an economic non-cooperation. And lastly, it's about having a general strike where we don't go to work, school, buy anything for an entire week. And that's Movimiento Cosecha.
Irma, we want to ask you the same question. Can you talk to us about some of the work you've been doing with justice movements?
Muy buenas noches y gracias por el espacio. Pues aquí estoy, soy una ambientalista, feminista y defiendo muchos derechos en Honduras, tanto económicos, culturales, ambientales, cívicos, políticos, de todo, en todo me he metido, como decimos en Honduras. Y pues...
So good evening, my name is Irma, and I work in all kinds of justice in Honduras. So I'm a feminist in environmental justice, economic, cultural, civic, all kinds of human rights and political rights too.
También decir que mi lucha inició desde el 1999, siendo una adolescente, cuando los campesinos y las campesinas se organizaron para la defensa de la tierra, que era una tierra nacional, pero que el gobierno se la había entregado de una forma fraudulenta a los grandes empresarios políticos y terratenientes y narcotraficantes. Ahí empezó mi lucha por la defensa de la tierra y los territorios.
And I just wanted to comment that my fight began in 1999 as an adolescent in a fight for the defense of the earth, which was the earth of our nation, but it was in a fraudulent manner. It was taken by the government and given over to corporations, to drug dealers and politicians. So that was my start of my fight.
También me convertí en feminista después de que estuve acompañada por 13 años con el padre de mis hijos y sufrí mucha violencia, tanto física, psicológica, económica, emocional, y fue ahí donde yo decidí hacer un alto a ese círculo de violencia que vivía y que también mis hijos estaban hundiéndose en esa etapa de violencia, y decidí ponerle un alto y empecé a conocer, a reconocer y a reclamar mis derechos como mujer, pero también los de mis hijos.
And I also became a feminist after 13 years of being with the father of my son, who caused me to go through physical, emotional, psychological, and all kinds of violence, which I realized was starting to affect my children. It was affecting everything in my life. So I decided that I needed to end this and bring an end to this violence that was being brought to my family.
También decir que he trabajado los derechos de los migrantes. Como todos sabemos, hay pactos, tratados internacionales, también tenemos las constituciones de las repúblicas, de los estados, y migrar es un derecho. Y pues desde mi país he también apoyado a muchos migrantes que han decidido optar por ejercer ese derecho de migrar hacia otras ciudades, a otros países, por X o Y razón, porque no migramos porque queremos. Yo creo que nadie quiere dejar su patria, ni su familia tirada.
And I've also worked with immigration justice in my country. I've supported the rights of immigrants from other cities, from other countries. Immigration is a human right, and no one wants to leave their country, their family. This is something that has always happened, and it's a human right.
También decir que en los últimos años he estado muy involucrada en la defensa de los territorios, es decir, el agua o los ríos que decimos, los bosques, y es una situación muy compleja en el país porque tenemos un gobierno que no es constitucional para empezar y aparte también busca sus propios intereses a cambio pues de tener sus propios beneficios y pues sabemos que es un sistema capitalista, neoliberal, que nos absorbe a toda la sociedad, no solo en Honduras, sino también en toda Latinoamérica y el Caribe.
So also in the last few years, I've been very involved in the work of defending territories, which is water, rivers, forests, and in my country, it's a very complicated situation because right now we don't have a constitutional government. And the government, what it does, it follows its own interests and its own benefits. So we know that this is a capitalist neoliberal system that absorbs all of us and all of Latin America, not just Honduras.
Quiero contarles que pues yo ya son 20 años de lucha en defensa de la tierra, los territorios, la vida especialmente, porque cuando defendemos el agua, defendemos los bosques y los territorios, estamos defendiendo la vida, no solo mi vida ni solo la vida de mi familia, sino la vida del mundo entero, pero que el sistema neoliberal, capitalista, machista y patriarcal lo ve como una ofensa y ellos quieren saquearnos y seguir saqueando y saqueando sin importar cuántas vidas se están llevando entre las patas. Entonces, es una situación compleja y yo he sido sobreviviente de mucha violencia por parte del Estado y de otros organismos como diferentes pues, victimarios en este caso.
So it's been 20 years that I've been fighting for the water and for territory, and when we're fighting for territory, we're not just fighting for that, we're fighting for our lives, and it's not just my life, not my family's life, the whole world. But at the same time, this neoliberal, patriarchal, capitalist system sees us as a threat. So they don't care how many lives are being taken. It's a very complicated system, and I have suffered a lot of violence at the hands of it.
Es bastante difícil para mí hablar de esta situación en un país que no es el mío, porque sé que este país tiene muchos ciudadanos y ciudadanas que realmente tienen el don de gente y tienen el sentimiento humano, pero también sé que hay un gobierno que es totalmente racista, es totalmente discriminatorio hacia nosotros los migrantes. Y a mí me llama mucho la atención, en la película habla del término ilegal. Ninguno de nosotros los migrantes somos ilegales. Cruzamos por los países que hemos cruzado, en mi caso pasé Guatemala y México y ahora estoy en Estados Unidos. Yo pasé de una forma legal con mi identidad, con mi pasaporte. No soy ilegal.
So it's hard to talk about this in a country here that's not my own. I know many citizens and people here are human and they have human feelings, but I know that this is a completely racist and discriminatory government which is discriminating against us. And I wanted to talk about this term illegal from the movie. Nobody is illegal. No human being is illegal. I've passed through many countries and I came here legally and I'm not illegal.
También es importante que retomemos la historia. El planeta Tierra no tenía fronteras. No, señores ni señoras. No tenía fronteras nuestro planeta Tierra. Nuestro planeta, como le llamábamos nosotros los indígenas, yo soy lenca, a mucha honra. 100% lenca, catracha, hondureña. El Aviala, que es nuestro planeta Tierra, no tenía fronteras. Fue un sistema neoliberal, capitalista, que vino a imponernos culturas, religiones, fronteras y hasta el idioma. Nosotros los indígenas teníamos nuestros propios idiomas, nuestras propias lenguas o culturas, costumbres, y todo eso, ¿quién nos lo cambió? Fue el sistema neoliberal y capitalista, del cual nuestros gobiernos allá en nuestros países están siendo títeres. ¿Quiénes pagamos las consecuencias? Somos la sociedad, la mayoría que somos los pobres, porque los pobres somos ese 97%, que somos los buenos. ¿Y quiénes nos están jodiendo? Perdonen la expresión. Es ese 3% que es el poder político y económico del mundo, que nos está quitando la vida, nos está quitando hasta el aire que respiramos y no podemos seguir viviendo así.
So just remember that this earth, earth never had borders. I'm an indigenous person, I'm Lenca, 100% Honduran. And Abiayala, which is the earth here, did not have borders. It was this neoliberal capitalist system that came to push this cultures, religions, borders, and even the language. We had our own languages, our own customs and cultures. And who took this? The neoliberal capitalist system, of which our government are puppets. And who pays the consequences? The majority, the poor, because we are 97%, and we're the good ones. And who is screwing us over? I'm sorry for using that term. It's that 3%, which is the political and economic power of the world, which is taking our life and air.
Por tanto, el término ilegal me parece un término estigmatizador, un término que te hace ver a ti no como una humana, como un humano, que nacemos con nuestros derechos. Nos quita la legitimidad, nos discrimina. Es un término racial que no debe de existir, porque la creación, habemos negros, blancos, amarillos, y todos tenemos igual derecho. Tenemos la misma equidad. ¿Y por qué debemos de luchar la sociedad en el mundo entero? Por tener respeto, porque se nos garanticen y se nos respeten nuestros derechos, que no se nos quite esa legitimidad de ser seres humanos y de que no se nos arrebate la vida por defender nuestros territorios. Yo estoy aquí, no porque yo quiero estar aquí. Créanme, estoy pasando un proceso, el más duro de mi vida. Yo les dije anteriormente, yo soy sobreviviente. Por defender los ríos, por defender la tierra, por defender los territorios y por defender la vida. He tenido que huir de mi país, pero antes de huir, el 2014, me criminalizaron judicialmente. El 2015, toda una persecución y amenazas que vengo viviendo desde el año 2012, pero el 2015 atentaron en contra de mi integridad física, dejándome en una silla de ruedas. 2016, yo nunca paré de hacer mi trabajo desde una silla de ruedas. Yo atendía víctimas por llamadas, iban a buscarme mi casa y yo hice mi trabajo de defensoría, asesorando víctimas y apoyando para que detuvieran los victimarios. Pero eso, aún estando en silla de ruedas, me siguió poniendo mucho más vulnerable.
So this term illegal, it's an exterminating term. It's a term that makes you seem like you're not human. We're all born with our rights, but this term takes away our legitimacy and discriminates us. It's a racist term that should not exist. Because in creation, we're all black, white, yellow, and all colors, and we all have the same rights. We all have equal rights, so why should we not fight for justice, to have respect? Our rights are guaranteed and should not be taken, our humanity should not be taken away for defending our own territories. I'm not here because I want to be. I'm passing through the hardest process of my life. I'm a survivor, defending rivers, my territory, my life. I had to flee from my country. But before that, they criminalized me. I've been living this persecution since 2012, but in 2015, they acted against my physical ability and they left me in a wheelchair. In 2016, I still didn't stop working. I was in a wheelchair and I kept seeing victims, supporting them to hold perpetrators accountable.
Bueno, decirles que quizás esté robando, no sé cuánto llevo de tiempo ahí, pero no quiero dejar de decir que yo huí de mi país con mi hijo. Aquí está presente mi hijo. Levanta la mano, hijo, para que te vean. Créanme que el tener a mi hijo a mi lado, desde que salí de mi casa, es lo que a mí ahora me tiene viva. Y hablar de este proceso para mí no es fácil. Yo crucé Guatemala, crucé México. Estuve 3 meses en México y mi vida era llorar todos los días. Porque no era una decisión voluntaria. Al final, para que yo huyera de mi país, después de tanta persecución, después de estar entre víctimas y victimarios, y de arrastrar mi familia por mi labor a ser agredidos, a ser amenazados, a que huyeran del país. Tengo 3 hermanos que huyeron del país antes que yo. Pero yo me creía la valiente. Yo decía, no voy a huir de mi país. No estoy haciendo nada malo. Mis hermanos me decían, huye, huye, te van a matar. Ahorita huí porque me asesinaron un primo hermano el 3 de marzo, 2019. Estando presente en un juicio en contra de 12 defensores ambientalistas en Tegucigalpa, cuando mi padre me llamó y me dijo, asesinaron a Juan, tu primo. Créanme que aquí en Massachusetts, en Cambridge, hay compañeras que estaban haciendo acompañamiento internacional en solidaridad con mis compañeros ambientalistas. Y me vieron como me derrumbé, saber que me habían asesinado un primo, pero no fue eso todo. Dejaron un mensaje diciendo, la próxima perra muerta es Irma. Eso fue fuerte. El 4 y el 5, que lo velamos a mi primo, el 5 lo enterramos. Del 6 hasta el 16 de marzo yo no tuve paz un tan solo día. Todos los días me perseguían. Y fue la última persecución a las 3:30 de la tarde. Yo todo me lo aguantaba solita. Tengo una madre que es diabética. Yo antes de llamar, yo mejor me lo quedaba solita. Pero ese día me pudo y llamé a mi padre y le dije, papá, me acaban de perseguir. Gracias a Dios estoy a salvo, pero no sé cómo salir de aquí. Voy a llamar a alguien que me venga a sacar. Gracias a Dios fue una compañera a sacarme. Y llegué como a eso de las 6:30 a mi casa. Cuando yo llegué a mi casa, estaban mis hijos. Estaban mis padres, mis sobrinos y algunos hermanos. Pero a mí me dolió tanto cuando mi madre con sus palabras y lágrimas me dijo, hija, vete de este país. Y yo Le dije, ¿sabe qué, mamá? No me voy a ir, ya soy adulta, soy mayor de edad, yo tomo mis decisiones. Y empezó a enlistarme todo lo que había sobrevivido por esta lucha. Yo le dije, mamá, usted que me parió, ¿me está corriendo? Me dijo, no, solo te estoy protegiendo. Y mis hijos aferrados a mi cuerpo me dijeron, mamá, huye, eres lo único que tenemos. Tengo 3 hijos y me traje a mi hijo varón, pero mis 2 hijas las tuve que dejar con mis padres. Y eso a cada momento, a mí me rompe el corazón pensar en mis hijas. Si están comiendo, si tienen que comer, ¿quién las está cuidando? ¿Qué estarán viviendo? Es la peor tortura que he tenido en mi vida. Me duele más que ni las fracturas de mi pelvis el día de aquel atentado. Me duele mucho más. ¿Y quién me obligó a huir de mi país? Un gobierno que nos está entregando los territorios a las grandes potencias mundiales como Canadá, Europa, la China, Estados Unidos, que solo es el títere de estas grandes potencias mundiales. Y quienes sufrimos las consecuencias somos el pueblo, y a quienes nos asesinan somos a los que alzamos la voz por aquellos que no tienen voz. Y es lo que pasó con mi compañera Berta Cásares, que fue asesinada en su propia casa el 2016. Y yo soy sobreviviente, no quiero seguir siendo víctima. Y aunque fue una decisión forzada, fue necesario cruzar todos esos países arriesgándome y enfrentándome al peligro junto con mi hijo, para darme cuenta que era necesario seguir sobreviviendo, para seguir defendiendo la vida y seguir luchando. Y estoy en este país, me estoy uniendo a otras luchas con Cosecha. Soy parte de Cosecha ya y me siento viva, porque sé que el maldito sistema no me ha callado y que yo tengo fuerza y energía para seguir luchando. Y yo les pido a ustedes y a los que me estén viendo, los que me estén escuchando, unámonos y defendamos los derechos de los migrantes. No somos ilegales. Tenemos una identidad que nos hace legales. No somos ilegales, y el término ilegal es discriminatorio, es racista. Es deslegitimarnos como seres humanos. Y yo, es cierto que tengo miedo, porque estoy en un proceso de asilo, y el estar hablando aquí a mí me está poniendo vulnerable a que me nieguen el asilo. Pero también creo y confío en que hay un pueblo que está dándose cuenta de mi situación y que sabe que migrar es un derecho. Yo tengo derecho a migrar al país que se me antoje, porque es mi derecho y merece ser garantizado y respetado.
So I might be taking a long time, but in the beginning, I want to acknowledge my son who is here, and that's what gives me life every day going through this. It's not easy to talk about this here. Everything that I've been through, I crossed through Guatemala and Mexico, and my life was just crying every day. But it wasn't my decision. For me to leave my country after so much persecution between victims and perpetrators, and to drag my family with me because of my work, for them to get hurt and threatened because of my work. I have 3 brothers, and they already fled the country before me. But I thought I would be brave. I'm not doing anything wrong. My brothers said, leave, leave, because my cousin was assassinated this year. 12 activists in Tegucigalpa were assassinated. And here in Cambridge, there are friends who are doing Accompaniment. and they saw that my cousin had been killed, but that wasn't all. They had also left a message that the next person is Irma. So on the 5th of March, we buried my cousin. I didn't have peace for a single day. They were following me. Until finally at 3 p.m. one day, I came home and my whole family was there. And it hurt me so much that when my mother crying, she told me to leave, to flee for my own safety. And I said, I'm not going to leave. I'm an adult. I make my own decisions. And I started listing everything I had survived for this fight. And I said, Mom, you who birthed me, are you going to run me out? And she said, no, I'm protecting you. And my kids also told me, Mom, you leave. You're all we have. I have 3 kids. I brought my son with me, but my 2 daughters I had to leave at home. And that breaks my heart at every moment. It's the worst torture I've had in my life. It hurts more than my pelvic fracture that day that they attacked me. And who forced me to leave my country? A government who is giving out our territory to the big world powers like the US, Canada, and China. And who is suffering these consequences? The people who raise our voice. And that's what happened to my sister Berta Cásares, who was assassinated in her own home. It was necessary to cross all these borders with my son. And now that I'm here, I've joined with Cosecha, which gives me life because I know that this system hasn't silenced me. And I ask all of you here listening, let's unite and defend immigrants' rights. We are not illegal. We have our own identities. The term illegal is discriminating and racist and dehumanizing. I am afraid because I'm here going through this process of asylum, and speaking here is scary because it could put my process in danger. But I'm here because I believe that there is a community who wants to unite together and fight to defend the rights of immigrants.
Thank you. Thank you, Kata and Irma. I just want to quickly say that hearing these stories or narratives or testimonios really puts into perspective, what we've seen in the film with how the Library of Congress as a system causes violence. And here we have other examples of how these systems are connected. And as was pointed out by one of the interviewees in the film, it's really important that we work together to really address them from different issues from different angles in order to work towards change. So thank you. And to connect the testimonies that were presented, I want to ask Óscar and Jill, what motivated you to join the fight to change this dehumanizing library subject term at Dartmouth and beyond? So can you see Óscar? Okay. Turn it down. Can we try to turn them down? We're going to experiment a bit. But could you get us started, Jill, perhaps? Or we'll wait for Óscar. I'm sorry, yeah. Óscar,
Can you hear me?
So well, but yeah, if you could start talking.
I think this story that we just witnessed.
1 second. I'm sorry. We're having. Could you speak now? We were having some difficulty.
Can you hear me?
Could you speak a little louder?
Let me see. Can you hear me?
We can hear you. It's just a little light.
Okay.
We're gonna play around on our end.
Okay.
Please start, and I'll
Okay.
if I need to.
Okay. So I think the story that we just saw in the documentary is, I think, the culmination of many threads of things that were happening at Dartmouth my first year. And so, as a first-year student entering college, undocumented, I was really, thrusted into the beginning of my political consciousness. And I think this was the really the tying of coalescing movements at Dartmouth from seniors who were, tired of the administration, fresh faces of DACA recipients, because when I started, it was a year after DACA had just started. And so you had this culmination of these different people and actors. And so when Melissa, who, eventually joined the organization that I and Eduardo co-founded, and met with Jill, it just coalesced so perfectly, and it was almost like a divine intervention. And so it really began from trying to advance the rights of undocumented students and immigrants at Dartmouth and beyond. And it just so happened that in the beginning, it started with this issue of language, of terms, which was exactly the thing that we wanted to do, because we wanted to, in many ways, catch up Dartmouth to the 21st century, to a lot of its counterparts, because there wasn't any, institutional support for undocumented students. And so this was really the beginning of what thrusted the organization and Dartmouth into the spotlight.
Hi, everybody. So I got involved because I was, as I recounted in the film, I was there when Melissa first encountered the term, and it was a very difficult moment because I knew that this was not an okay term, and it wasn't a term that I used. But I kind of I missed the impact. So if we think about intent versus impact, in that moment, my impact by not relating to Melissa on those terms was really powerful, and it was a very difficult moment. And realizing the impact of my missing that and causing harm, really causing more harm by missing it, it caused me to do a big reckoning. And because I knew that my politics and my sort of identity, I really identified with progressive social justice movements. But if you're not talking the talk and doing the work and really that beautiful panel at the Library of Congress, words are also actions and actions are a kind of words. So if you're not expressing your values, then you're not having the impact you may want to. So that moment was very important for me as well. It was painful recognizing my own racism, really, and moving from there. So yeah, I was embarrassed when I saw that the students raised it in the freedom budget, because I thought, oh my God, that's because of me, right? That that she encountered that term. And of course it wasn't, but that was sort of the shame talking. And operating, but I was also really, I really respected them, and I respected Melissa tremendously for not just sitting with that, and kind of letting it go, but actually challenging it openly. I thought was really, really powerful. So I wanted to work with them and kind of work through it as we could and look for a solution, and that's how it got going.
Óscar, could you say a little more about how the coalition felt when you were able to successfully advocate for the change in term?
By coalition, do you mean the coalition of librarians and students, or
the co-fired, is that correct?
Oh, okay, yes. So I started at Dartmouth in the fall of 2013. And at that time, I think we started to see the rise of a lot of undocumented students at Dartmouth, and a lot of the ones that were leaving as well, that were politically conscious, wanting to make some sort of, impact as they were leaving, coalesced into this, in some ways, a desire to make something more institutional. At Dartmouth, I saw that there was at least some support for example, Native American students, or the Asian American community, all these different types of communities, but there wasn't anything for undocumented students. I was there were plenty of other undocumented students, so why wasn't there anything for us? And so I was fortunate enough to be around that small community, but then also being in a community of allies, because a lot of the co-fire members, not all of them are undocumented, but all of them are impacted in some way by these issues, whether they have siblings or parents or other family members that are undocumented, or others who may be part of refugee or asylum-seeking families. Essentially, everyone that's interested in immigration or impacted directly by immigration. And we saw that, at the end of the documentary, all the people that we listed, from Perla, Josue, that didn't make it directly, but were still part of the movement. That the organization coalesced nicely with the things that Melissa experienced with the library.
Okay, thank you. And Sawyer, could you tell us a little bit about how you got involved in this project and the idea and the process behind the making of the film?
Sure. And first of all, I want to thank Lee and Alejandro and everyone else who helped put this together. This is really, really exciting to be here and to share this all with you, and to have this amazing group on the panel. So I was employed by Dartmouth College in the media production group, which was the in-house video production team that college departments could pay to make videos for them. And Jill approached me at end of 2015, beginning of 2016. We started talking about making initially was going to be a 15-minute video about the activist effort at Dartmouth that had centered around the library subject heading term. And I was pretty clueless. I didn't know too much about what the Library of Congress did, or despite being actually an English major that had gone to Dartmouth College. But because of that English, I was very interested in this idea of language and the ways that it's used to categorize people and control access to things. So I think what really attracted me to the project was what Jill just mentioned, that, and it's sort of at the very beginning of the documentary, but that initial meeting between Jill and Melissa, where Melissa speaks up about this term that really hurts her, and it's this moment where Jill confronts her own whiteness and confronts the racism in her system and the system that she perpetuates, and it synced up a lot of what had been going on in my life, with sort of realizing my own place in the white supremacy and patriarchy, and this is all happening, right after Ferguson, Black Lives Matter, and then we're in the run up to the 2016 elections. So it's a time when the country was being torn apart by a lot of racist rhetoric, and also coming together in a lot of really amazing ways. But the idea that this interaction between two people with two different perspectives on things, but ideologically aligned in a lot of ways, could have such a profound impact, reverberating out from that. It was really, really spoke to me and made me, made me realize this could be a really powerful and important tool to share this story, to amplify these voices, to kind of use some of my privilege to help this story get out there. So that was, and then the process from there was a huge amount of work from the students and Jill to round up funding from within the college to this documentary, this 15-minute video, and then we interviewed all the people, which was a long process and a lot of logistics, but and traveled to DC, which sort of came about in a last minute sort of way, but really it was really exciting. And then the students graduated, and we were left with 20, 30 hours of interview footage, and the realization this was not going to be a 15-minute piece, and the story was just so much bigger, and that throughout the process, production, and post-production were sort of the phases of a film, and throughout pre-production, sort of planning, thinking about what what we were trying to do, the production, interviews, traveling, filming on campus, and then post-production, the editing down into a coherent and powerful story message. It was a super collaborative effort. We were, while we were all on campus together, we were meeting, every week, every other week to talk about where we were at and what we were thinking, and once we had all that footage, we were. It's a very familiar sight to me of Óscar on a screen, because we were Skyping or Zooming in with each other regularly, I would make edits and upload new versions, and the rest of the group would watch them and give them feedback. And Jill and I and Óscar and Melissa watched all the interview footage, pieced together the narrative that you just saw, and so that was sort of the process. Making sure we were being true to the story and the voices and that were so generously shared with us. So now we're in this whole new phase of talking about it. It's a really exciting time. So thanks.
What a long process. And what are you going to do with film? Are you going to archive it, preserve it? Do you have that plan in place? Yeah. Okay, thank you. Yeah, I'm concerned of time. Was there a thing that I should know? Okay, well, we will. And so this question is for everybody. And some of you touched on it a bit, but maybe we can go in a little bit deeper. But why does language matter? What specifically? Why do library subject headings matter? And I'll open it up to the panelists here. But if somebody in the audience wants to also step up and add other perspective, I think that would be great. I don't know if anybody wants to start us off here specifically. Oh, all right. Was there another microphone? maybe Alejandro. Could you identify yourself?
Hello, can you hear me? Yeah, I'm sure there are probably some people here who are more qualified to answer this question. I work for Harvard Library, but I am not a library staff member. But in our created library system, in our search for a Harvard scholar, and you turn on, Harvard Library, harvard.edu, and you search a term. If a lot of things, if they even have subject access, will have wanting to keyword search it. You're going to search the term that you're looking for: undocumented, American, or undocumented person. You're not going to search for something that is a pejorative term to find a book about the subject that you're interested in. It's just impractical. It makes no sense, aside from being offensive. I mean, I'm on the other end. I'm in technical services, so I buy and catalog the books. I work primarily with Africa and South Asia, but there are a lot of historical terms, and when I see old records for things that are offensive, Oriental, or whatever, it's problematic. And you want to, I go to catalogers who are authorized to change things, and it's a battle. And we have we don't have enough staff, we don't have enough time. I did fight a battle to get an authority record for a name of a person, an individual who was a slave, an enslaved man in Africa, enslaved from one country to another, and then he moved to England, and he has had several memoirs. He's no longer with us. He died some time ago, but in both of his memoirs, he wrote an entire chapter about his name, his African name, and it was not his name in the Library of Congress subject heading. It was his baptismal name of somebody, a name he had chosen because of a mentor, somebody who had helped him in England, but it wasn't his name. And you can have both of them, but why not put the name that he chose, that he wrote an entire chapter explaining which part came from his father, which part came from his mother, which part came from his village, and actually give that to him. And we have so few slave narratives, even in Harvard Library, which has a massive collection, just seem like worth doing, but you have to fight, and we have no time, and you have to, make a rationale for why it matters. And I think it's obvious why it matters. So, very long-winded answer. Please, can you bring your movie to Harvard? We would love to screen it there.
Yeah, I just wanted to add a thank for sharing those stories. One thing I'd like to add is that campuses like Harvard or Dartmouth, and a lot of campuses, most college campuses, there's a lot of ways that they aren't welcoming to people that don't look like me. And the library is often like a sort of safe space, and we heard that from, probably you might be able to talk more about this, but we heard that from a lot of people, that there were spaces like within the library, within the academic sort of fold that felt like they were a little safer than the fraternities or just other spaces on college. And Melissa spoke up, and she said something when she saw us, but who knows how many people have looked at a term like abandoned child or illegal alien, and after having struggled for who knows how long to get into a place like Dartmouth, decided that that was the straw that broke their back, and they left, because we know that a lot of first generation students don't graduate from college. A lot of people who are coming from disadvantaged backgrounds really struggle to fit in, and so I think that's a really important part of it's seeing that yourself represented that way. It's really hard.
And we've talked about how, the impact of language, specifically from the audience members and how it can trigger. It can also be reflected in just different power structures within your own library systems. I'd like to ask Irma and Kata how the power of language is a part of your own struggles. So there's a microphone here on the table.
Hello. I think it's a complex dynamic that different people, based on their experiences, navigate differently. And I myself am a DACA recipient, so I have this work permit that I've been renewing since 2012 for several years, every 2 years. And there are some friends who call themselves documented and dreamer. And dreamer stems from Matt. It's you calling you a piece of legislation. So I've never called myself a dreamer. Don't call me a dreamer. Don't call documented youth a dreamer. And I think that when it comes to just migrants, it's about chasing the American dream's ass. It's about you wanting to be so part of this country that you start patronizing it. You start trying to assimilate. And I feel that that's one of the challenges of being neglected through policies, through structural powers, where you just yearn this sense of belonging. And when it comes to just migrants and words, even migrants completely erases Native people, indigenous people. I myself am indigenous Zapoteca, and it draws this myth of migration being beautiful. And when you're calling someone undocumented, you're putting the responsibility on them, while our material conditions are deeply rooted by power structures, by this country's own intervention in our own home countries that forces us to migrate. So I think it's also important to uplift the different punches we've gotten in our faces, where we know that it's so difficult to change, bring tangible change into our lives, where there are different sectors of people who are reclaiming certain slurs, like with the Peruvian indigenous community calling themselves cholas and cholos, and we see with the queer community calling themselves jotos y jotas, and then we see people in the indigenous community calling themselves Indians. That was once a very discriminatory term, and saying, actually, I will own this and reclaim it and show that this state will not define me. So I think there are different sectors of people who are navigating identity in its different ways, and have friends as well who call themselves illegals. To say, actually, they're, to this day, we still hear people saying, oh, why don't you just wait in line? That line is non-existent. And that's due to poverty. And that's due to imperialism and neoliberal policies and relationships with this country and our home country. So when we think about just terms, I think at the end of the day, we just want to be and be able to breathe with ease.
So I hope my Harvard colleague won't bust me, but we can't change the Library of Congress subject headings, but we can add things. Like, we can add more subjects. We can add geographical terms. If I were writing, creating a bibliographic record for your book of your life, your memoir, how are there ways you like to describe yourself? Like to name your language, to name your place that you come from, or people that you identify with? Because I could pile on a bunch of other, subjects, descriptors, keywords that would describe some way that you like to see yourself, to think of yourself.
Little subversive acts, you're saying. Which, brings up another question. And Óscar and Jill, what's the state of your struggle? Could you share a little bit about what's been happening with the work you've been doing?
You want to go first? I'm looking up at the screen, but I know I should actually be looking there.
Sure. By work, do you mean like my personal work?
We can't hear you.
Oh, okay. Let me see. Can you hear me now?
1 second.
Okay. How about now?
Yeah, this is good now.
Perfect. Okay. So with my work, do you mean like personally or with the subject heading?
You can both, yeah.
Well, I'm about to start my third year at Northwestern University in the Department of Sociology. I'm slowly finishing my coursework. And if you've been paying attention to the news and what the Trump administration has been doing to DACA, it's been a very tumultuous time where, it feels like the way to describe it is like living a perpetual state of emergency and peril, constantly, feeling like the world could shatter in a million pieces, just like by a stroke of, the pen changing the law or removing a law. So for me, my dream career is a professor, which right now is attainable with DACA. However, there is no replacement for DACA if DACA is removed. And I have my degree, I'm not really sure what I'm going to do. And I think that's what, that's the best way I can put it, that state of emergency, that state of limbo, that perpetual state of like, what am I going to do? And so for now, I constantly just focus on my research, which primarily works with other undocumented folks, trying to center our voices in academic scholarship that has been primarily written by people that are not necessarily from our community, but allies to the community. And so I think my work has been trying to center our voices, center our experiences, recognize what has been erased or forgotten or neglected in the academic scholarship. When it comes to the changing the subject, I think doing a lot of these screenings for me has made me realize, one, the amazing support that is out there for this, but two, that's the thing that we need to continue to do, to raise awareness, to continue to keep this in the spotlight, because I think what has made it, in terms of a standstill, is Trump and his administration, and the fear of the librarians at the Library of Congress to make a change and face retaliation, whether that's with their jobs, their salary, or the budget of the library. I think because of the current administration, we're at an impasse with this movement, in my own personal life and the lives of undocumented immigrants.
Yeah, Óscar, is this on? Óscar, you said it really well. As you may or may not know, the Library of Congress is not changing the heading at this point, even though they announced that they would. And so it's really become an effort to make changes locally. Yes, you can make changes locally, as you pointed out, but it is, and I'm not a cataloger, but it's a complicated process because of all of the interaction with other outside systems. So it's not a small thing, and even my own library doesn't want to go there. So one effort that's happening is a small group out of ALEX, which is the organization of catalogers and technical services within American Library Association. They are developing best practices for cataloging and metadata units in libraries to implement local changes to the heading, and so stay tuned for that. I think that the film is raising awareness and getting people desirous to do something and to seek solutions. But, you know, we're up, something was mentioned earlier about libraries being safe spaces, and I really want to caution us, students, librarians, from thinking that we're welcoming to all, because I think this is one example of a microaggression or a macroaggression, however you want to put it, among many. You know, we just happen to know about this one. And so I think, you know, the effort to make the library more inclusive it's a really monumental task because of, as we've heard, you know, the culture, the systems that we operate in. One thing that I'm concerned about right now is Tina Gross, who is in the film, is really badass, as I'm sure you felt. She's actually facing a layoff from her library. St. Cloud State University is doing a retrenchment, which means they are firing a number of faculty, and librarians at St. Cloud State are faculty. And so if you want to do something, if you feel inspired after watching this film, please write a letter in support of Tina Gross. And I'm just going to pass out some flyers here where you can find more information. But I mean, just look for the ways that you can do better and make the library a better space. That's all we can do. It's these small acts.
Thank you. And we have a minute left. Is Andrew Clark here? Hi, Andrew. Could you please update us on the status of what's going on here at Simmons?
Yeah, my name is Andrew Clark. I'm the Discovery Librarian here at Ely Library at Simmons. First of all, I just want to thank you all for attending. This has been great. Many thanks to Alejandro and Lee and the rest of LISSA and the rest of the SLIS student organizations for putting this together. They've just done an incredible job of getting everything organized. Thanks to the amazing filmmakers and panelists who have traveled and generously spent their time to be with us here tonight, and who do the real difficult and important work of activism. So the announcement that I have is that, as people may know, Simmons University Library recently joined the Fenway Library Organization, also known as FLOW, which is a consortium of 35 academic and special libraries in Massachusetts. So over the past several months, I've been working with FLOW directors, and I'm very happy to announce that on behalf of FLOW, that the consortium has committed to changing the subject to undocumented immigrants in all member libraries categories. We're also going to be changing 6 other related subject headings. We're going to be providing local authority records so that our users will be directed to. This change is going to be supported by the Flow office, as well as the vendor that supplies authority work for the consortium. The process will be largely automated and will remain sustainable, even as we move to a new library management system. So I want to thank the administrations of Flow and Simmons University Library for their support of this project. I'm extremely grateful that I've been able to use my position of privilege to help facilitate this change. And I'm hopeful that this momentum will continue and that we can support and encourage other libraries to do the same. Thank you.
Great. Well, we're right on time. Thank you again to our panelists for sharing your experiences and for bringing this wonderful film up to us. And thank you to the audience.
Yeah.
Right.